Love these lines on this. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a special photo to me. This is another image that that I had scouted out the day before. So this image was only possible right after Hurricane Sandy again, which was a huge, impactful, storm here in New York and New Jersey. This photograph was taken in New York underneath the Long Beach boardwalk. So Long Beach is kind of like the hub of surfing in New York. Rockaway also, but I guess the further out on Long Island, Long Beach is really the spot. So it had this iconic boardwalk that was there for many, many years, and that was totally destroyed by the surge from Hurricane Sandy, where it was just a really bad situation. And that had ripped up the boardwalk and destroyed it. And after a couple of months, they had removed all of the pieces of wood, and all that was left was this concrete structure that the boardwalk sat on top of. So what you're looking at right here is you're looking at beneath the boardwalk, perpendicular to the beach or parallel to the beach. And I had a friend grab his surfboard and run, 100 yards down the beach and then run through there. So I only got one shot at this photo in particular because I was dealing with a surfer and the waves were going off. So he wanted to get out of the water. So this is my friend, Rob Bilowski. And I asked him to, run through, and this is like the perfect one. It lined up so great that he's centered and also taking that step. And also his head is blocked, which I like a lot because it's the anonymity of it. It represents all surfers. So it also captures, the urban feel of New York, and it's really dark and moody, and you can see a bunch of debris that was left over after the storm. And just another really.
Yep. Absolutely. No, it definitely captures that feel of it and just the solitude and kind of what in the aftermath of all that. So incredible photo.
Yeah. So I saw someone asked the question, what do you think of when you compose your images?
Yes.
Maybe this is a good time for me to answer that. So I like to take into consideration the rule of thirds. I kind of base all of my images around that. So breaking the image up into thirds. So this image is just centered perfectly. It's not weighted to one side or the other or to the top or bottom. But I really pay attention to the lines in my photographs and working with those thirds because it's just more pleasant to the eye. There's a bunch of different things you can do later on in Photoshop as far as cropping the images and kind of getting it perfect. If it's a little bit off, this image just happened. I think I cropped a little bit off the left side where you could see beyond that piling. But yeah, I try to keep that in mind when I'm shooting because I want to have the ability to print these images as large as possible. So I don't want to crop them too much where I'm going to lose resolution. So I want to really focus.
Love that. Yeah, as much as you can do and shoot in camera is always great, and composing rather than the post process of cropping or anything like that. So wonderful job with your eye of kind of seeing that and changing that. Very inviting and fun.
Yeah. This photo is definitely not taken in New York. This is not what New York looks like when it's really good. I was invited to go on kind of a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Indonesia, to the Mentawais on a boat. So I was asked to go take photos of a bunch of guys from New York. And this person right here is Tripoli Patterson, also known as Trip. So Trip is a gallery owner, and he represents artists and has fine art inside his gallery. And is also a really, really good surfer. So this is a lucky shot. This is not something that was planned at all. This photo was taken at a surf spot called Bank Vaults, which is that's probably one of my favorite waves to shoot in the world. When I shoot with water housing, I keep it in my right hand. So for me, shooting into a right is a little bit better because I have an extra second or two where I'm not getting sucked over the falls. And this photo was taken with a fisheye lens. And this was the last session of the last day of our trip before we went home. And I'm not even kidding. This is probably within the last 3 waves.
That's how it usually goes, right?
Trip.
Literally, like the end of the whole trip. That's when you get like the best photos, or you get the best waves, or anything. Literally, as you're done with everything, it happens like clockwork.
So crazy that this wave came in, and it was kind of like a little bit of a double up, where like it was 2 waves at once, and really pitched open, super wide. And
Nice.
Tripp was just, he committed to it, pulled into that barrel, and we lucked out that it was framed like this. This was not something I was looking through. I just kind of was winging it and hoping something would come out. And we got this, which ended up being used as, it was on 2 covers. It was on the cover of Eastern Surf magazine, that was the first time I ever got a cover. And then it was used a couple months later on Surfing Life magazine in Australia, which was even crazier because I'm from New York, and now my photo of my friend is on the cover of a magazine in a country we don't even live, and we can't even get access to it. It was really,
I
really
think that's
wild.
To me, like, the best part of it is that it was your friend. It was that guy that, like, your buddy, he surfs well or anything like that. But how much more like gratifying is it that it was like your good friend, as opposed to like, hey, it would be epic if it was Kelly Slater. Cool. But being your friend that you like go have a beer with and go hang out, and you're like, hey, we got this cover together. Like, that feeling is even better to me, and having your good friend having that kind of a shot.
What was wild was that I didn't know Tripp. I knew of Tripp from his surfing and seeing him in videos locally, but I had never met Tripp in person before this trip. And we became friends, obviously, because we get the cover of a magazine together, and we are still friends to this day.
So funny how that goes, right? I mean, that's how it happens. Beautiful shots.
Yeah. So this is kind of a funny photo. The photo to the right, that's my little brother. That's my brother, Nick. And my brother, Nick, is 10 years younger than me. So he's 26 now. So this was taken a couple years ago when we had the solar eclipse. And this was, super flat day, no surf, no waves. But the eclipse was happening. So what can I do to take a photo of this? I know that people are out there taking incredible photos of this, planning months for it. And here I am thinking, in the months coming up to it, I was like, I don't know, I'll come up with something, whatever. Then it's the day of, what are you going to do? I don't know. I'm a surf photographer. I'm going to do something with surfing. Maybe I could swim out in the ocean and take a photo. That's not going to work with a fisheye lens because it's just it's so tiny. Yeah. You need to be zoomed in big time. So I had my brother come to the beach with me, and I asked him to hold the board just like he is in that photo. And I laid down on the ground and kind of had him maneuver it so that it was kind of pointing a little diagonally, but where I can get the solar eclipse directly above, and lucked into this photo also that I got the reflection kind of right off the tail of the board. And I used a circular polarizer, and I handheld it in front of the lens. I didn't put it over the lens. So I only needed to darken basically where the sun was because it was so bright shooting directly up into it. So I'm kind of just holding it right over the top of the frame of the photo and just snapping away. And I lucked into getting this one that was like perfectly straight above the tail of the board and has that little reflection.
That's so rad, dude. That's amazing.
Yeah. It's kind of working with what you have. You do your best with what you can. I'm not fortunate enough to be able to travel everywhere in the world or set up a lot of photos and spend money hiring people to work with me and getting all this equipment. I kind of just work with what I have, and I'm kind of a little bit of a loner, I guess, where I kind of do my own thing and go off to the side and go shoot somewhere else. That's just how I focus. So this is kind of the same sort of deal. I'm afraid to ask other people for help, but I'm not afraid to ask my little brother.
That's okay.
Yeah, look at him. He's got to hold that board there. It's
I mean,
probably
what an
90
incredible
degrees.
shot, and actually thinking outside of the box, right? And that's what we love to do and create, because that's what challenges us. You didn't know you were going to get this reflection. You didn't know quite how it was going to work out, if it was going to work out, what you're going to do. But that's what challenges us. And I feel that's what keeps me going back. That's what keeps me wanting to shoot and loving what we're doing in shooting, is those challenges of like thinking outside the box and really pushing my own limits.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to work with what you got, and then also push yourself and challenge yourself and put yourself in situations where you might not be comfortable. And sometimes that means either not having all the gear that you want, or limiting yourself on purpose to using certain types of gear. Also putting yourself in giant waves. Which sometimes.
This is such a classic mood. That looks cold though.
Yeah. That is very cold. That is February in New York, and you only see a couple footprints right in the foreground.
Right.
You don't see them where he was, because it is completely frozen over. Totally frozen over. So you got a layer of snow, and then you have ice on top of that snow. So you really are capturing cold, brisk, chilly New York. Full wetsuit, booties, gloves, 7mm.
That's a commitment.
And this is a friend of mine. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a commitment going out and surfing, because you're in the freezing cold water and the freezing cold air.
Oh man.
This is a friend of mine, Mikey DeTemple, who is pretty world famous longboarder, style master and filmmaker. And here he is. This is post session, so he had already been surfing for a bit and got out. And Mikey's super fun, easygoing guy who can be silly sometimes. And we were waiting for the other guy, our friend Lee Mirowitz, to get out of the surf, and Mikey was like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna go do my own thing." And this was just an image that happened in front of me. Took it,
take it,
and
that's epic. So what time of the year is your favorite time to shoot in? You guys have so many different like seasons, looks, weather, temperature, everything like that. If you had to pick one time of the year, what is your favorite time to produce images?
So I would have to say right around the end of October into November here in New York is when the water is not freezing cold. It's super consistent surf. It is getting chilly. So the weather outside is starting to get cold. So we get those dramatic skies, super gray. And then when that front passes over Long Island, we get those beautiful, sunrises and sunsets with dramatic light that are super fun to play with in the water, where you have the reflections bouncing off the surf. That's like
nice.
Everything to me.
I gotta come visit. I gotta come that time of the year.
It's kind of like right now, actually today was one of the first like chilly days of this season, and it's just got that great like brisk feel where you feel alive, and you're finally out of summer and it's not so hot, and you have to put on a jacket, and the surf is good, and today we had good waves, and it's just
that's the right time to come before it gets a little too cold for me. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Between Sets. Make sure to like and subscribe to be tuned in on all future episodes. Thank you.